Being a teacher changed everything for me. I was a teacher. I taught in the South Bronx in New York, and I taught second graders. And it was just a really, really interesting experience being able to work with those kids, and it was formative for my experience just as a person and also as a researcher.
So I spent 4 years as a middle school teacher. I spent it in Newark, New Jersey and in the Bronx. And then after that, I spent another 4 years working as a teacher coach. So I worked with new teachers to help them refine kind of their instructional practices and classroom management practices and all that good stuff that we know is important for students to learn.
So in my former life, I was a high school teacher and I taught science.
I taught 6th and 7th grade social studies in Atlanta Public Schools at Jean Childs Young Middle School specifically.
I left college and I immediately joined a teaching program. And it was the experience of working in the South Bronx, working in that community, and having an upfront experience of how policy directed kids' lives, how the educational system directed kids' lives, and frankly, the inequities within that system that were eye-opening to me.
I knew not all kids were getting like a great educational experience, and that really bothered me, and I felt compelled to do something about that. And then related to that was this idea of, well, how do we know this is actually working? I always kind of felt like, we got a curriculum and we were being told it worked, but for whom did it work? Why did it work? What was the evidence that was actually being used to ground that?
One of the things that I learned when I was teaching was that it's never one person's responsibility to try to help a youth or their family, that there are multiple systems involved, and the answer has to come from those multiple systems.
Being a teacher has informed how I interact with other practitioners, how I interact with researchers by grounding me in the lived experience of people who are on the other side of policy. And I think it brings to all of the work that I do in education or in other topics as well, this awareness that frankly, the participant comes first.
That's what really excites me about my day-to-day work is I get to think about, okay, what do we know and how do we make sense of it and how do we make it work?
So for me, it's about knowing the different networks, knowing the different actors, and just like when I was a kid, there were different systems that made that possible for me. I know that people are behind systems, and at Mathematica, we are uncovering the evidence to make sure that those leaders make the right decisions in front of the classroom and systemically on the state and national levels.
A lot of the programs I provide technical assistance for are actually working in schools or with schools. And so having been a teacher, sometimes I can come up with an idea that might work in their school system.
And that context matters, right? Like you're trying to talk teachers and districts into participating in a study that could be really valuable and could really help move the field and provide actionable feedback. Well, you got to speak in a language that's relatable to the teachers and districts, right? You have to, describe what the research base is in a way that's relevant.
I wish that the larger research community understood what hunger there really is for evidence, especially among teachers who are working in the classroom.
Data has a heartbeat, and that's something that I learned in graduate school, and I really would like for our education colleagues and teachers to understand that researchers are really giving their all to uncover the evidence. Applying much rigor, so much intentionality to make sure that they understand the true sort of root cause of some of the issues that the teachers are facing in their classrooms every day.
Folks want to know what works. So building that communication, building that bridge with actual practitioners, teachers, people who are on the front lines, to me is critical to our mission.